Hello and welcome to all of you. You're watching France 24's Tech Show. I'm Julia Seeger. What impact does social media apps have on our daily lives and even on our psyche? In this edition, we take a look at how big companies are using your posts to push you to buy more and how doctors are now warning the excessive use of apps could lead to depression. And in Test 24, after the Nintendo NES, we try another vintage console, the Atari Flashback 8 Gold. You don't always realize it, but when you post a picture on social media, you're actually saying a lot about your consumption habits. And companies around the world are now taking advantage of that to target you for specific ads and push you to buy more, as Laurent Berstecher explains.
In the space of a few years, social media has revolutionized the way we share images. Photos are now called posts, which can be liked or reacted to with the touch of a screen. Another increasingly common feature, the person doing the posting doesn't have full control over the content.
There are a lot of ads that are directly linked to things we've looked up online.
When we scroll through our newsfeed, they look like posts. But when we click on them, it turns out they're ads.
Business has been booming for this French clothing company, which launched online just 6 years ago. 70% of its marketing budget goes towards sponsored content on social media.
This is a collection of our best posts. Here Facebook and there Instagram.
Each of these photos received over 10,000 likes, but the visibility doesn't come cheap. The company spends several thousand euros a week to spread its content online.
We gained 1,250 followers last week.
The secret to their success? Making sure the ad doesn't look like one.
It's just another picture. It needs to be perfectly crafted so that people don't notice they're being targeted by an ad.
Preferences, hobbies, age or gender, as much information that can help advertisers better target their products and that we tend to publish for free on social media.
Everything is collected and analyzed by software, by a robot. It creates a consumer profile with your preferences, your interests, and that in turn will trigger the ads.
An intrusive but legal business which is enshrined in the terms and conditions of every social media platform and which generates several billion euros a year.
Well, I'm now joined on set by our in-house expert, Dhananjay Khatalkar. Beyond pushing people to consume more and buy more products, now some experts are saying that these social media apps could also have long-lasting effects on the well-being, the psychological well-being of people.
That's right, Julia. In fact, there was a study conducted by the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine in 2016, and they found out that the more time young adults spent on social media sites, the more likely they are to be depressed. Now, there are three key factors that they listed out as the reasons why depression could set in if you spend more and more time on social media sites. First is, of course, a feeling of envy, a feeling of false or misplaced belief that the other person whose profile you're constantly checking is happier than you.
Right.
So that makes you feel low, and that could lead to depression. The second is, of course, you expose yourself to cyberbullying. So the more time you spend on the social media sites, there are more chances of negative interactions which could affect your mood, and that could also lead to depression. And the third, perhaps the most interesting, is that after you've spent a lot of time on social media sites and you realize that this has been a futile activity, that the realization that you have wasted so much time doing nothing, I think every one of us has had that feeling when you spend time aimlessly just browsing profiles or just chatting.
You get nothing out of it.
Absolutely. So that feeling that you have wasted so much time could also make you feel low, and that could lead to depression. So these are the factors that they figured in, and they also found out that this particular sample size, they spent 61 minutes per day on the social media sites, and they checked 30 times per week these particular sites, and they found out that those who did so more frequently, the chances of them getting depressed were 2.7 times than those who didn't as frequently as the others. So it is quite a significant finding.
Right, and there's another warning coming this time from the engineer who actually created the like button for Facebook. His name is Justin Rosenstein, and he's warning that these apps are becoming just too prevalent, too addictive, and all these notifications are taking too much space in our lives.
That's right. He's been reportedly quoted as saying that the Facebook likes are nothing but bright dings of pseudo pleasure. And he himself has restricted the use of Facebook. He has put a severe limit on the use of Facebook. And he has also got himself off Reddit and Snapchat. So that speaks volumes of the negative effect that these social media apps have on us.
And among other things, he's also talking about how we're less and less focused. Our concentration is going down. Thank you so much, Dan and Jay. We're going to move on now to a whole other story. Tesla has kept its promise of building a 100-megawatt battery system in South Australia within 100 days. That implies, among other things, that some 30,000 homes in that area will have power backup. Why is it such an achievement?
Well, the first part of the answer is in your question itself, because they managed to build this massive battery in 100 days. So that was quite a feat. And secondly, South Australia had been ravaged by severe storms last year, which led to a blackout, and there was no other source of providing electricity because all the transmission towers, they were literally torn. So that was the severity of the storm. Now, what this is doing is it's going to be a backup system. So if there are, some similar storms, and even if the normal transmission gets affected, this could provide the power. As you mentioned, it will be powering 30,000 homes. And not only that, we don't have to, it need not be that this battery will be used only in times of natural calamities. They can also be used if you want to draw extra power and which the normal grid is not able to supply. So this power pack also comes into play in those times. This particular battery will be charged by using wind energy. So there's a wind farm in South Australia that will be charging this battery. And more importantly, now this power packs, it shows what the kind of future we are entering, because the lithium-ion battery prices have drastically gone down. And so it's a great way of using the battery power as a backup or as a complement to the normal power grid.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dan. We're going to move on now to Test 24. The once leader of the gaming industry, Atari, is making a comeback by bringing back to life the games of the 70s and 80s through the Flashback 8 Gold console. And you have all these games here. They're really old school, Dan. Let's see if I can recognize any of them. Maybe Space Invaders?
I'm sure you cannot.
That's probably the only one I know.
Okay, let's try this one, Space Invaders. As you can see, the graphics are very primitive. And even the controller is not easy.
Right.
You have this joystick, and there are 4 buttons. I don't know which one to push now to fire. I've already lost. So yeah, nostalgia is fine, but the gameplay and the graphics should be equally impressive.
Adapting a little, right?
Yeah, given the fact that we have such high definition and excellent graphics that are coming out with modern day consoles, and even the one that Nintendo released, the NES, the retro console, even playing Super Mario Brothers is more fun than these games. So maybe for me, I don't think I'll be very keen on buying this console. But for those who love the Atari games, especially the Atari 2600 games, this could be an interesting gift, because the console itself now has an HDMI connection. So that's one of the advantages. The console is very light. It comes in with 120 inbuilt games. There are also options of having controllers attached to it if you don't want to.
Even the colors are from the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah, they look very 70s. And you have these 2 joystick controllers. They are based on radio frequencies. So they have ensured that there's no lag because of the use of radio frequencies. One of the disadvantages is that you cannot use cartridges. So if you want other Atari games which are present on our cartridges, you cannot use it because there's no slot for cartridges. So that's one of the disadvantages. And Yeah, it's the 40th anniversary, and so let's enjoy
That's
enjoy
their way
again.
to celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dan. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech24, but you can watch it again on our website, france24.com. See you next time.